Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you will receive alerts when there are new episodes. Go get it.
That's what I tell them. I've been grinding for so long, I wake up and chase my goals. I go out and I go get it. Hot or cold, that's all I know. I don't succeed, then I don't breathe. Success, what does it mean? If I conquer all my goals, then I'm living out my dream. Dig deep, go out and get it. Success Chronicles. Compete until it's finished. Success Chronicles. Go take care of your business. Success Chronicles. It's deeper than just winning. Success Chronicles.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Chip Baker coming to you with another episode of the Success Chronicles. Today, we're on with Mr. Julien J. Marion. Man, great guy, great journey. He's been blessed and fortunate to achieve some really neat things, and I'm so excited to share his awesome journey, his success tips with you on this episode today. So first, Julien, thank you so much for taking the time to interview with the Success Chronicles.
Host Chip, appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me.
Let's go. Well, let's dive into it, man. I know I'll share this with the audience. You know, we were just doing some get to know, having some convo, off air, and it got into the good stuff, right? And I was almost like, hey, hold on, wait a minute, let me hit record. That's the good stuff right there. But man, tell us about your journey. So the audience will have an idea of, who you are and what it is you do.
Yeah, man. I'm a husband, a dad of 6. I'm a coach, a speaker. I own a brick and mortar dance studio here in Texas, in Fort Bend County. But my story, I was born and raised in Africa, in the Congo, and left when we were 12 to Belgium because of war, right, in Africa. And then at 18, left for the US for basketball. I played basketball my whole life. I used to be a soccer player. In Africa, and I remember telling my mom when she was like, "No, you're gonna play basketball." I was like, "No, I'm a soccer player. I'm a soccer player." And now in retrospect, I'm like, man, 6'2", 6'3" soccer player sounds much better than a 6'2", 6'3" basketball player. Much better, And obviously, there's a ton of money in soccer for that type of body. But pretty much, like a big piece of my story, was that growing up, and I know we didn't talk about this off air, is that my white friend used to tell me that I was black, and my black friend used to tell me that I was white. And so I had this weird space of like being mixed and not having a group or identity, right? I wanted to fit in. And so a lot of the pain that I had as an adult came from that, from like just feeling inferior, right? My dad is 6'7", my brother is 6'6". Most people in my family are like slightly taller than me, the men, or slightly under, but you have a lot of like giants in my family, right? It's like the legit giants. There's no just, it's like legit giants. And so, especially in sports of basketball, 6'2", 6'3", like you're not quite there. You're part of the little people, And the higher level you play, the more you realize that you're part of the little people. In regular life, you're like, wow, you're taller than most people. But inside of your space, which is always, I was very diligent about being disciplined and staying within a frame, within a container. And for me, the container was basketball. If you didn't play basketball, I'm not around you. If you didn't have the same goals to basketball, I'm not around you. If you're taking me away from basketball, I'm not around you. Like, I'm one of those people. Getting a very strict container of where I'm going to play in. Now, that is not always fair to others because you're very self-centered, in that space. But I didn't want to have any regrets in my journey. I was just like, listen, if I don't make it to the league, I don't want to say it's because of someone. I don't want to say it's because I wasn't focused. I want to say it's because I wasn't around, the right people. I want to just say, like, listen, I wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Right. And now I have 6 kids, and then there's a tough discussion with them. Right. I would ask me, what did you not make it? You quit. I'm like, listen, I was just not good enough.
That's it.
Like,
that's what it boils down to right there.
I wasn't not good enough. And in my generation, maybe if I would have been born later, there's a lot of people my height now, and I was a shooter, shooting from very deep. But back then it wasn't really hot to shoot from very deep.
Yeah, they didn't do that thing.
That's the thing. And I was like, listen, you can take 2 dribbles past half court and shoot. Back then it was like, Julian, what are you doing? And so I was like, I was just not good enough. So anyway, so from Africa to Belgium, from Belgium to California, redid my senior year of high school. Then I went to Mississippi, play NAIA Division One, Belhaven University, met my wife. I was supposed to go back home if I didn't make it to the league to play because I was already inside that funnel of, in Europe, they start you young and then they just move you up in their academy until you make it to the Division One pro team, right? So I was kind of like already inside that space, and a lot of my contemporaries were already doing it. And since I had a cornea transplant, then I had a bone bruise on my ankle, I was just like, I just don't want to go home and be average. That was my thing. Yeah. I was elite when I was there. I was like, I don't want to go home and be average. Because again, remember, I'm fighting this sense of inferiority. And I'm like, there's no way in the world that I'm going home being average. And I'm just not doing it because I'm still fighting this sense of inferiority that I'm just not enough. Mm-hmm. So I'm in this space now of workplace. And I'm like, I don't know anything about work because I never did any kind of internship, never did any kind of job during the summer. Yeah. Basketball was my job. Camp, right? That was my job. So I'm like, I don't know anything, right? Luckily, I'm not this awkward 6'8" guy with huge hands that's trying to learn how to type on a keyboard and his elbows all out. Like, I'm not this, right? I'm slightly more normal, in that sense that you can't fully pinpoint me, but you can tell that I'm like, I don't know anything. Like, I'm just learn like how to type, how to like all that kind of stuff. And so I'm going from direct door salesman to customer service to one day, I remember this like, oh man, so vividly. And again, you're in Texas like me. We drive a lot in Texas, right? When I moved to Texas, I was like, is this going to be my life? I'm like, is this going to be my life? Just driving. And at the time I was living in Humble and going all the way down to Rogerdale. So and then I had to pick up my son from my wife in Pearland. So I literally have to go like all the way down, then all the way back up. And we spent like, hours and hours just driving. Right. And I'm like, I got married at 23. So I'm probably like 24, 25. Like I'm still so young, still learning. Right. And I'm just there, again, my ego is high. My, feeling inferior is high. So I'm compensating heavy everywhere. I'm just compensating. Right. And I remember like I just finished like the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I get hit like just literally God's message, like, what are you doing? I remember I'm playing Call of Duty. And I'm like, Call of Duty is like every game is 10 minutes. So you're like, I'm just playing a little bit. And then you ended up playing 8, 7, 8, 9 games. You're like, you actually play an hour and a half, but it feels like 20 minutes. And I'm there, guys, like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm playing, I'm unwinding. He's like, is this what you want? I was like, no, but I mean, I'm unwinding. And I get called to, hey, I need you to look into graduate school. And I don't get it because I'm like, I hate school. Everybody knows me knows like, I'm going to be there, but I'm going to be there because I have to.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do anything that I can. If I have to cheat, I'm going to cheat to get the score. Like, I am not like, I'm going to do what I need to do to be able to pass so that I can go and actually play. And sometimes the cheating ended up me having to learn the material, so I ended up not even needing to cheat because I'm like, I know it now, But it was just like the mindset, like I'm like, can you just get to the point? And so anyway, I'm going there, I'm getting my interview for my MBA, and then the director is really impressed and said, hey, I know you have a job, but I'm building a new team. Would you join me? And I'm like, you want me to sell education? This guy doesn't like education. I'm just here because God told me to come. Like, she's like, that's exactly what I need. Like, I need you to be able to tell that to people, right? And this is a higher ed, so this is adults. And so I ended up finishing, graduate school, got awards for academic achievement. And then one day I'm here, I'm admitting people, and we're like, listen, we don't have a teacher for this first class. And I'm qualified, right? Because SAC's accredited school, if you have a graduate degree, you can teach undergrad. I'm qualified. And I have a business degree. I'm qualified. But in my head, like, I'm not qualified. Like, I've never done this. Like, what am I doing? She's like, sorry, I'll have to put you down because I need somebody on here so the class can actually go inside the schedule.
You're the one.
So, yeah, I'm the one. I'm next in line. I'm next in line. Listen, you're the only one here now. Like,
no, it's you. You the one.
Right, you're the one. So I'm here, and I'm like, okay, cool. Look at the roster. I'm like, we have 10 adults. I'm like, okay, I can do that. And now the word gets out that I'm teaching this class. So some people are curious, some people are excited. Next thing you know, before the class starts, there's 30 adults, ages 35 to 55. I'm 26. And I'm starting to hit with like all levels of insecurity again. Like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? And I remember even calling my dad to let him know, like, hey, I'm about to teach this class and stuff. And my dad says, I can't remember this class. My dad says, what do you know about entrepreneurship? Because we had just started a business and I'm supposed to teach entrepreneurship. And he's like, what do you know about entrepreneurship? You just started your business. And then I get hit with this level of insecurity again. And my dad, again, he's a dreamer, and at the same time, he's a realist, right? And so I go there, and my rebellious side now goes into like overdrive. Like, I'm going to show you.
Oh, yeah, I got you.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. And so anyway, I go there, and the class has like one of the highest rating. Like, it's 5 weeks, 6 to 10 p.m., 4 hours straight for adults. So you have to keep this space and those people engage for 4 hours at night after work. You already know how that is. Like, just to keep people engaged, like for like an hour about like some presentation and stuff is hard. And now you're doing it after work, like it feels impossible. But I'm able to do it like consistently. And then I find this gift in me of teaching that I didn't even know was there because I never pursued it, because I had resistance towards school and towards academics. And so I'm going there. Then eventually God said, hey, okay, now go and launch into the deep, cast down your nets, and they will be full. Pretty much calling me outside of this to go into full-time entrepreneurship. By the time I have 3 kids. So I'm going from a career that's building up. I'm one of the youngest guys to teach, right? And you already know college and academics is usually a very straight path. It's like the more, like you just literally keep on going up. The younger you can start, the better it is, because you go from bachelor to master's to PhD, and the money keeps on moving, and it's very secure. And I'm going from this to boom, no insurance, no money, build. But I was just like, okay, God, call me to do this. And I even wait from the message he gave me. I wait like another 2 months because I'm just like so afraid. And I tell my wife, and she tells me, okay, I trust you. And then anyway, I leave. Then they decide to cut me from the teaching. They felt like I sabotaged the school because I left. Because remember, I was also part of the sales team. And so I'm like, we're killing it. But I'm also one of the best teachers. So killing it there too. And now I'm leaving. And so somehow the school felt that I was doing it on purpose to sabotage, because at the same time, now my director is called by God to leave. It's this weird thing. So both of us are leaving. She leaves right before me. And so now they cut me off. I can't teach. They're like, no, we don't need you to teach anymore. And I'm like, I was banking on those contracts, still being able to do those contracts. And now I don't. So I'm going full-time entrepreneurship. I start doing the podcast. The podcast gets ranked on iTunes, during those 8 weeks, right? I'm getting like PR, CEOs, like people just reaching out to be on the podcast. But at the same time, I'm not replacing my income. And my wife is trying hard to get me to figure out, how do we make money here? And I'm so excited. My ego is so high because now it's saying, look at me, I'm here, like I'm number 3. And I do all this kind of stuff to the point where the water gets turned off. We ended up having to sell the house, and we have a business that is growing, but it's not making enough money. And I'm having now to go and transition out of what I really felt in my heart. Like the way I can explain it is like, it's a fire that I had inside that I had to put down. Because a mentor of mine told me, Julien, you have to focus on the one thing. And the one thing right now is the studio, is the brick and mortar. So I have to grab this now and have to put it down. And I just feel at that point like ashamed. Ashamed that I disappointed my wife, right? Because when you tell your wife, trust me, God told me this, trust me. And then now we have to sell the house. And I tried to get you to tell me the path, but you're so high on your ego that you didn't want to listen. And now we're in this place where we have $21,000, no money coming in, and we have to figure out a place to rent with no clear W-2, right? Because we're entrepreneurs. Like, do you have a pay stub? Well, you see, I'm an entrepreneur. It's a draw, No, I don't. I can see my bank account, but I don't. And so we have to pay for a year up front out of the money we had, and we only have, I can't remember the exact number. I think we had like $41,000 is what we had for the sale of the house. We got to give 21 for the whole year because nobody would take us. So we have to pay a whole year up front, 21 grand, and we have about 18 or so left for a year to be able to support a family with 3 kids. And then we have a 4th one on the way. So I mean, somebody is probably saying like, "What the hell, man? How do you keep on having kids?" I know. You know, like I must be a good student. It just happens. It's just this clear every 2 years sequence for us. But the business starts to grow. We go from 125 kids to 200 to 250 to 300, 350 to 400. Like the business is growing until one time a coach of mine tells me, he asked me, he's like, "Hey, Julian, do you feel you're doing what you're called to do?" And I'm like, I can't say yes. I'm trying to say yes. Like I'm trying to say yes because I don't like the alternative. So I want to say yes, and I'm like, no. But I can do it. I can keep doing what I'm doing. Like I enjoy the grind, the competition of entrepreneurship. And he's like, yes, but is this really what God calls you to do? You know, to just be there and do this one thing at this one location. And I was like, no. And so I go on this really journey of self-discovery. You know, like we shared earlier, like I do this soul purpose blueprint, right? Which is it's a workshop that I have now. And inside this workshop, inside this blueprint, I have my entire soul purpose blueprint for myself, which is my gift, leading, teaching, speaking, learning, achieving, my passion, simplify, discipline, growth, radiate, empower, my values, integrity, growth, leadership, determination, freedom, value that I move away from, deception, dishonesty, cheating, disrespectful, needy, my roles, leaders, coach, teacher, student, speaker. I'm getting like clarity over who I am in a lot of dimension in my life so that there's zero chance for me to not know the aim that God has for me. Zero. And then the business started to do this thing, and then God said, okay, now put those nets down. And again, I know some people are like, well, I've read the Bible, so I know what was next. Me, I'm one of those people. Literally, you tell me something, I'm going to go with what you said. Like, I'm not going to be like, tell me the rest of it, right? Some people go to the end of the story instead of like Bibles and stuff. Like, I just go with like, I get the message, I go. I get the message, I go, right?
Let's go.
I go. And so I'm like, he sent me the second part, which is, now put those nets down and follow me. We're going to be fishers of men. And then I panic. I'm like, oh my God, he's calling me to be a pastor, preacher. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm not doing that. I'm like, God, I am not doing that because I have this vision of, I had this experience with pastors and stuff back in Africa and even in Europe. There was never a great picture for me, right? Until I started to have mentors in my life that were showing it very differently, right? Eric Thomas, Jeremy Anderson, Chris Crump. I'm starting to have those men that are doing business, Garrett J. White, instead of, Warrior, doing business, but also having God in there. Like, so it's business, but their ministry is attached to it, right? Because the whole purpose is like, I'm trying to bring men back to God. I'm trying to bring people back to God because there's so many spaces in their life when they're in scarcity. And if you're in scarcity in many places, you're not in abundance, it's hard to connect you because you don't want to talk to God, right? During the time where I was ashamed, I remember not praying once. Like, it's weird. I remember just like not having any dialogue with God, not have it daily. But I remember at that time, zero dialogue because I was so ashamed of who I was, right? Of how I messed up and how I put my family down. And now I'm another statistics. I'm another, men that just said again, God told me, and then you just go and you don't do anything with it. And so I'm there, I'm leaving, I'm doing this thing, and I'm having my mentors just really lift me up in that space. Show me like, hey, here's how it is to be a man of God, but also a businessman. And then I become a warrior certified trainer, teaching the warrior's way instead of my coaching, and get that clear assignment from God to help men be relentlessly all in for their family, their business, their calling, and their body so that it can be free and reconnected with him. like very clear mission, and that's the direction that I'm on, to be able to get there and do that. But like I told you earlier, you can't tell a man, hey, I'm trying to connect you to God. Come on, man. It's like, no thanks. Right? But if I can get to this place of addressing it either inside of business or inside of body or inside of relationship, then eventually you're going to feel the guilt in the pain, that you're going to say like, okay, man, I'm in too much pain.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in too much pain now. Like, can we talk? And that's the conversations that I have.
So good, man. Such a neat journey. And, just hearing you discuss your journey and the things that you've learned and that you've had to grow through in your journey is so much. And I love how you said fishers of men, because now we can take what we've learned, what we've grown through, and use that to be a blessing to others. And I mean, that I think I call that being in alignment with your assignment,
Mm.
right? And it's so good to be in that space, because the big man has placed you there, and you did, even though that he pulled you, you went in kicking and screaming, you didn't want to go.
Oh yeah, he knows. Like him, I have to like really put him into serious pain before he can go and listen. Like, are you gonna listen now? Are you gonna listen now?
That's funny, man. But glad you're doing that. And so just listen to you talk about your journey, the great things that you've been blessed to achieve and learn. And I would consider that to be hugely successful. So let's hit on success. What is your definition of success?
Reaching your full potential. I have in me
Mm,
always this fear of not doing everything that I can, leaving things on the table, right? Which means like I said, inside of my basketball career, I never wanted to say I did not make it because I did not practice enough, because I did not surround myself with the right people, because I made stupid decisions going partying and stuff, right? My teammates would tell you, they're like, some of my closest one, used to say, Julian, he's a hermit crab. He's a hermit crab, right? Because for me, it's like, listen, I'm going to be there before practice shooting. I'll be there after practice shooting. I'll be there on weekend shooting. I'll be there on Sunday shooting.
mm,
Like, I'm going to be there practicing because I don't want to have any regrets. And to say like, oh man, I could have if I would
yeah,
have.
yeah.
And my whole life is that fear that I'm not doing enough. I'm not being vulnerable enough. I'm not I'm not writing, you have 15 books. I'm not writing enough books to be able to get and reach somebody, because I'm so focused on my little problems or my little challenges. Right. So for me, success is really attaining that, squeezing everything out, going as far out to the edges of
Yeah.
your plate as you can. And you never know how wide that plate is until you keep on pushing, keep on pushing, keep on pushing. Obviously, instead of kid, I know I reached it. 6 kids, can't go more. I know I'm at the edge of my plate there. I'm like, can't do it. This is it. Some
Yeah.
people never know. And so that's my definition of success, pushing as far out to the edge of the plate to know that you're at the edge of your plate and there's nothing else you can do.
So good. Well, man, as we close, I'd love for you to get an opportunity to share with the audience where they can go follow you and check you out and show you some love and get your books and all of that stuff to show you some love.
No, for sure, man. I'm at julienmarion.org. So that's JulienMarion.org. And on Instagram, Julian Inspires, at Julian Inspires. And for any men listening out there, this is what I know about men. You don't reach out until you are in massive level of pain. You just don't. I've been to those moments where you're in so much pain and you feel so alone that you don't know who to reach out to. You just don't. And you don't want to reach out to your wife. You don't want to reach out to a pastor. You just don't want to reach out to a friend because you're ashamed. And I want to let you know that I'm here. If you need somebody to reach out to just go and open up about like how shitty some stuff are. And trust me, I've heard almost everything that you can think of. And I'm a man and I've gone through so much pain. I always say that God, when you decide to be a teacher of God, that God has a way to make you go through fire so that you can be forged and be ready, because you cannot lead what you don't live, and you cannot take people through what you haven't been through. And I've been through a lot. I still go through a lot because I have a constant evolution. I believe in death and rebirth. So that means every next level of your life requires a different version of you. And I would love to be able to have a conversation with you. If you're in that place of pain, you're like, man, I need something better, or I feel like I can go to the next level. So just reach out. And Chip, thank you so much again for having me, man. I really appreciate, the time with you. And since we're close to one another, we need to connect face to face and, get a tea or a coffee. I don't know what you're into.
Let's done. That's a done deal, man. But man, thank you so much for hanging out on the Success Chronicles. Truly appreciate it. Truly appreciate you dropping those hot nuggets, dropping those hot nuggets on us. And I wish you continued success.
Awesome, man. Appreciate you, Chip.
Yes, sir. And thank you guys for checking out this episode. We'll see you next time. God bless. Go get it.